Hey guys, today I'm going to go over a build that we're working on right now. So it's going to be a set of coffee tables, and they're made from pallet boards. So I'll show you a few things that you're going to need right off the bat. Essentials: you're going to need a square and a level. You're going to need some good glue, wood glue. You can pick that up just about anywhere. You're going to need your measuring tape. It really helps if you have a planer. Those pallet boards are usually quite rough, and you can actually get them down to a really nice grain using a planer. This is a Delta 12.5-inch planer. You need to tear apart some pallet boards, which I have there. My workshop's a mess, I'm sorry, but we have a few projects on the go. You're going to need some clamps. And over here, you're going to need a table saw, and you're going to need a plane, or you're going to need a palm sander. This is an orbital. We have 60 grit, and then we have a really fine grit. Some stain brush, your table saw, obviously, and a miter saw. You don't necessarily need the miter saw, but it makes things so much easier. So basically, you start off with a piece of plywood. So we've got plywood that was actually attached to the top of a pallet. So that's what we're using to build the platform for the table. We just find it's more secure, and where pallet wood takes a little bit to dry out, you'll see some gaps once it does dry. When you use the plywood, I find it holds it a lot firmer. Even with the glue, it still pops a bit. So this is the best way that we've found. So you take what our size is, a 2x2 end table. So we cut our plywood 2 feet by 2 feet. This is 3/4 inch. It's nice and heavy. Then we rip down our pallet boards to 2 inches or 2.5, depending on what you want. You rip them all down on your table saw. Then I find dead center, so that would be 1 foot over exact, and then go up and find dead center the other way. So you have a starting point in the middle. From there, what we do is I put a straight edge on and line it up, then do the chevron pattern starting this way. When you get to the middle, you flip and do your 45 cuts on your miter the opposite way, and you continue that process on the other side. So it's glued down first, and then we brad nail it down as well. It's a lot more stable. If you have, and then you cut the excess off. You can use a circular saw, or since mine is my miter saw is a 12-inch compound miter, I can actually get most of the way across, cutting it flush, and then I'll move it back and I'll cut it again, and then that gives you a nice flush edge. You'll have one little spot. You just have a piece of scrap. You cut off a corner of the scrap. You can see on this piece here better. Cut that corner off like that of a piece of scrap that you have left over, and nail it and glue it into that section. So then I'm going to be working on cutting the other pieces right now for the skirting of the table, and I'll let you see that when that's all done. So stay tuned. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're using this piece. If you look at a pallet, that's a cross member piece. So for the skirting, little added extra flair, right? You've got this nice contoured design here, so we're going to actually use that. So I know my table is 2 feet wide, 24 inches. I'm going to measure from the center of these two, find center, and then I'm going to measure from there 12 inches over and 12 inches over the other way, and that will make it an exact cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and when we get these on the table, you'll see what they look like. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I have the sides cut and placed. They're not glued or clamped or screwed or anything yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a screw in here and here. We'll do the corners, and then when it comes to this part, obviously this is much too thick to get a screw down in there, so I'm going to use my Craig jig And we're going to drill some pocket holes, and we're going to put the screws down in through there. Of course, we're going to glue it first. So this is the bottom of the table. So we'll check back in when we get that done. I'm going to start building the legs. We're going to use maybe some nice beefy ones. I have some nice big pieces here. They've got to be run through the planer. I've also got a few pieces of 4x4 that's aged and weathered. Mind you, it's still going through the planer because it's being stained and varithined. So on to the next part. Okay, so here's the rough fit of the table legs. Again, none of these are screwed in or anything, so it's going to look like it's all off. It's just a rough fit, so none of these are attached, but that's what we're using. It's not quite a 2x4. Well, it's more like a true 2x3. Again, that's just pallet wood. So once we get it attached, and then you're going to need a piece of trim that's going to go along here, so it's going to cover up this seam and make it look more finished. So I'll get on to cutting that here in a few minutes, and we'll catch up with you. Okay, so in this last part, what I did was I took one of the legs that you could use for a table. It's the exact same size as the other ones, so once you pick out a few of your legs, pick out one extra leg. Again, these are a true 2x3 milled, so they're not like the regular 2x4s, they're actually a 2x3. And rip them down to 1/2 inch, set your saw at 1/2 inch, and run it through. And then you get these nice pieces here. They've got some, if you can find one with a decent looking grain in it, then you can get one. And these little tiny little holes, these are from Staples, but they look like little worm holes. So it makes that perfect imperfection for your table. Nice grain. Some of them don't have as much grain, but you know, you switch them out so that, you know, maybe you want this not visible on each one. And then that's it. So this table is ready to be put together. Once I take the valance and run the valance through the planer to smooth that out, yeah, it'll be ready to put together and ready for stain. So stay tuned. Okay, so the table is all assembled. Remember, if you make this table, there's no way you're going to get it perfect. It's impossible because it's pallet wood. So it's twisted and everything. I mean, we even tried this out and it's still twisted. So anyway, that's what it looks like. I put the this trim around the edges there to make it somewhat seamless. I miscut one piece and that was enough to throw the entire thing off. So I actually made a joint here. You barely even see it. So that's nothing. So if we want to take a look underneath, let's see what it looks like. We use the Craig jig. And there's pocket holes holding the whole thing so you can't see any screws. There's no screw holes anywhere. And that's going to take stain just beautiful. You can see the top with some stain on it. Once you put the polyurethane on that, it's going to pop. So I'll let you see the finished product when it's all done.